Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, Mopars.com. You'll have to forgive me. I've lost my voice a couple times here recently. Feel fine, just lost the voice, and kind of cuts in and out. But we just took a look at some stuff I've needed to get videoed for quite a while. A little Mac rethread kit, and that thing came in handy in the same flyer. Kind of the cool new thing that they had was a deal on an item that I was very interested in, and I held off, and I didn't buy it. My driver had 10 of them. And I think most sold probably like 6 or 7, if I had to guesstimate, you know, of what I see hanging from the ceiling. But I held out, and I pulled the trigger after the flyer. You're thinking like, idiot, you paid more money for that. Nope, got a good deal. And what it is, it was a 2-piece bundle, some of you may know. I would have put this in that same video, but again, I try to kind of err on the side of caution with length when I can. They're sort of not totally related, so it made sense to do them separately. But this thing would come in around $310, I want to say is what the flyer price was. You know, again, cover, flyer 10, $310, some of you may know. Look at that. You're thinking like, wait, you said 2 pieces, right? Like, okay, what's this? Oh, you see it now, right? Kind of blew that one. What this is, it is a 2-piece set. It is purple. This is the first time ever Max Axis Ratchets have had purple. There are already purple handled tools. Some of the Mayhew stuff came in, you know, the breaker bars, everything like that, pry bars. The pry bars, I should say, not breaker bar. I was thinking of wrecking pallets is what's on my mind. But those are purple, and then the roto head ratchet actually came in purple. They've got some purple mats. Like I said, Mac very slow and late to the game, but kind of coming around with some of the colors. And currently, this is what they've got. The flyers strictly said these were limited. I don't know how many. I think my dealer actually told me a month or 2 prior to them coming out. Don't remember it. Maybe I mentioned it in a previous video. So what we had in Mac Axis land, if you recall, we're not going to include the roto head. That one was sort of disappointing. It's almost basically like the same as a Carlisle. It's nothing stand out. It's not made in America. It's, you know, Taiwan, as you might expect. Decent ratchet, just very expensive for coming out of Taiwan. These, however, are American made, right, for the most part. More on that shortly. But what we have is we had the 3/8 13 flex head in red, because that's all you could get at the time. And then we have the 1/4 inch flex head in 9-inch. And also in red. Now, sadly, I don't have either one here to show them to you. They're at work, possibly, right? More on that later. But they've been really good. The one I've used the most is the 1/4, because it's been at work the most, the longest, I should say. And it's been super, super solid. Only issue is the head's kind of getting floppy. Can I fix that and adjust it? I sure can. What I'd always wanted to try from Mac is their locking flex head, and this is it. This was sort of my way to do it. I have waited and waited. Now, my driver, to his credit, has like the bare metal handles on his truck. The website, I can find those there, but I wanted a comfort grip. Just not necessarily in red, but that's all they had, right? This is and that thing has been out of stock. The comfort grip one, I think it finally came back in stock when I looked Friday. Prior to that, that thing has been missing in action for months. I'm talking months on end, not there. Maybe your driver has one, maybe he doesn't. You know, again, like I said, mine did have them, but they were the bare metal, and I wanted a comfort grip. Not necessarily in red, but again, that's all that there was. So, that's kind of what prompted me to go ahead and do this. Number one, I was like, well, I don't know when these idiots are ever finally going to make this happen and get a freaking locking flex head with a comfort grip. And then, too, the purple just sort of grew on me, right? Like, you know, every week when I go on there, I'm like, man, that looks pretty good. When it was the flyer month, these were sitting, like, right there. You couldn't miss them. And then after that, you know, just went up to the ceiling where, you know, you kind of have to actually look. But It looks really good. It's just totally different. It's like a plum crazy vibe. Same size, same scope, everything, just in purple. And if you're thinking like, man, you really wanted that Mac locking flex head, didn't you? I sure did. And like I said, I wasn't sure when it was going to happen, and that just grew on me. Now, if we come over here, the companion, and I think he probably would have broken these down after the flyer, meaning like if I just wanted that, I think I could have bought it from him. That said, I didn't have a fixed Mac Axis. Conveniently, luckily, whatever it may be, these were 3/8. If this was like half or quarter, I don't know if I would have done it. But 3/8, that's my bread and butter. That's what I go to. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to keep these at the house anyway, so that's even more 3/8 proof. The glaring thing that I hate about this is this tag. Like, it's hideous. I certainly hope that we'll be able to clean off any adhesive. But this is a 9-inch 3/8 drive standard fixed head ratchet, and it'll be my first ever fixed head Mac Axis, so very excited about that. Again, performs about the same as, you know, everything else I've had from them. The coolest Easter egg here, it has nothing to do with the purple, but when you look at the Mac Tools logo, you're like, yeah, that looks good, but check that out. This is super cool. It's on the selector switch. You've not only got on and off if you're a nut, but you've got USA with the American flag, and that is glorious. You'll note also, some of you will see like, hey, you know, I thought my Mac Axis that I got shortly after they came out had screws from the bottom. This is a change. This is what they're sort of moving the entire line to. It's that way it's less likely to back out, I suppose, and of course falling down is a problem. But this one right here, 100% made in America. Really nice ratchet action, really nice and firm on the selector switch. Nothing really to complain about. And again, the purple, you'll have to let me know. Some of you probably love it, some of you might hate it. I think the vast majority will be like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah. Again, I do give Matco credit for what they do well, which is the aesthetics. And I guess you have time to do that when you don't manufacture anything. So they've been in purple, they've done purple, they've been there. All credit to them for pulling that off. I think Snap-on has hard handle purple, kind of really hard to come by. But yeah, Mac, again, sort of late to the game, but I will give them credit for finally making this happen. It looks fantastic. The biggest issue for some of you, you're like, oh yeah, I pulled this in day one. First time the driver came by and had these on hand, I got them. Great. Here's the issue. You clearly love purple. Hopefully you like the ratchets. What do we do for quarter and half? Is there going to be like a standard, you know, is there going to be a 3/8 non-locking flex head, just a standard flex head in purple? Is there going to be a 1/2x18 fixed ratchet in purple? Will they just come in and negate? They're never going to do a flex head in quarter, 3/8, or half, but they have plans to do fixed and locking flex head in quarter and half. Are there no plans to do anything in quarter and anything in half? Does it depend on if these sold instantly? You know, like my driver, I think, had 2 or 3 left. You know, what if your driver had 5 or 6 left? What if they sold 40 to 50% and it's not making the cut, so they don't want to do purple in quarter and half? What if they take those sales statistics and say, okay, you know, we did 1,000 of those, and, you know, right off the bat through the month we sold 800, we're going to make 800 quarters. Then what happens if like quarter's more popular and you come in and your driver sold out? I don't know this stuff, and it's something you kind of do need to think about. Obviously, you're getting the purple because you either A, love it, or B, no one else at your place has it, right? Everyone's red, green, orange, high vis, whatever it might be. And you're like, I want my stuff just be different, so I know it's mine. You don't have quarter and you don't have half, so that's sort of the buzzkill right now. You know, hopefully they do it. Hopefully you get like the full gauntlet here. I have asked, and Mac, you could view this as a good thing or a bad thing, but you know, like with Snap-on, if I really wanted a purple handled ratchet and they came out with them and I was like, dang, you know, I just bought the full complement, the driver knew it, you know, he got the sale. he could turn around and he could buy me purple handles, and we could pull the handles off and put the purple handles on, and I'm happy, and he might even credit me, you know, some cash for the, you know, if they're in good shape for the other color or something. The way Mac does this, particularly here, if I grenade this thing tomorrow, right, I can get a head kit. You're thinking, oh yeah, cool, you know, that way you get to keep your purple handle. But with this one, I've asked my driver, you know, like say something just terrible happens, you don't get the handle replaced, or just 15 years later, I'm like, man, you know, this handle is totally, you know, totally gone. That oil or whatever I got on it that one time just ate it up. I can't deal with it. It's sticky every time I touch it, you know. Yeah, we got to get me a new handle. Will they have one? I don't know. Don't go with 15 years. Just assume you do that in like 6 months. What he told me is they don't replace handles, they just give you a new ratchet. Well, what about this? Like, I totally get they'll have bare metal, polished handle, they'll probably have the red, but what about the purple? What about your orange and green? I don't have an answer for you. That is something to think about. And this is all so new to Mac, it's kind of an unknown at this point in time, I guess. If you got any insights, if you've had this conversation with your driver, feel free to chime in. But yeah, 3/8, 9-inch fixed, 90 tooth axis, really nice. Again, right here's our anything worth knowing. The part number, I'll go ahead and give it to you. XR 990 AP. I believe that last P is going to indicate purple. This one does have the tag of 2024, so it's definitely not something they're sitting on the rug on or anything. And if you think like, well, okay, you know, show us this one. What was this like mostly USA? Well, if I bring them side by side here, this will be heartbreaking for some of you. Especially if you just want the locking flex head. You've got USA, like, yeah, that is super cool. And then over here, like, yeah, Mac. Yeah, on and off. Yeah, American. Wait, what? And there's no USA and no American flag. Quarter drive doesn't do that. Again, I think it's just like space constraints, but 3/8 should, and it's not there. And you're like, well, wait, there's USA. What's the deal? Throw that guy out of there. This is going to be the made in USA with global components. So, as best I understand this, and there's threads on Garage Journal back to right when the Axis launched, what I believe it is, this right here, the ratchet, you know, the internals, I could probably take this apart and swap everything over cleanly. If we get a rebuild kit, it's going to come from Fort Worth. The problem is the handle, and I don't know that it's the whole handle or just the lock mechanism. It is actually globally sourced. I'd assume out of Taiwan. The big buzzkill here for some of you, if you're thinking like, yeah, you know, that is a nice deal. My Snap-on sucks. I hate it. I'll try the Mac, especially if I can get purple, green, or orange. Well, here's the deal. This is subtly different, okay? So, with Matco, you know, as much as I do like the aesthetics of the black chrome and the blue handle, you've heard me complain never-endingly about that thing for various reasons, including I basically have to use pliers to toggle the switch from locked and unlocked, and then it's sort of like an index, right? The Snap-on, geez, at this point in time, we're still not to 10K, but I guess I'll just go ahead and tell you I've got a Snap-on locking flex head, and it's the new design, and I've had it for a really long time, and it's at work. That's why I don't have it thrown out here on the mat. And the first day that I took that to work, I had a scenario where I was like, this is perfect locking flex head time. And this is not the slide button one. This is the rocker switch up here. I smashed the ever-living snot. Like, luckily, I had, granted, they're red and beat up alphas, but I have the impact on them. If I wouldn't have worn gloves, that was one of those like hits that was so hard. Not only would it probably have cut me because it was right on the edge of the table, but it just would have like sent tremors in your hand and you sort of like can't grip for a little while. So needless to say, and I think in my video I even said like, man, that kind of, I could see that possibly coming unlocked. Well, yeah, it does. So, you know, there's times I'm like, yeah, this thing's pretty good. And then there's like times I'm scared to death because I'm like, I'm going to smash my hand again, aren't I? This is different. This is very different. I will tell you right now, this is locked. This is the most robust lock I have seen, particularly the up and the down. Like, this is stupid solid. If your hand wasn't here, right, on the gearing, you would not know that this was not fixed. It is that freaking solid. The problem is, and some of you will like this, and some of you it's a complete deal breaker, and I understand that completely. Right here, with this ratchet, you're like, yeah, you just unlocked it. Wait, unlock it. You're like, man, that thing's broken. No, the way this works, it is locked all the time. There is no unlock. So it does a very, very good job of holding its position. I'm telling you, like, this is rock solid by locking flex head standards, but that's all it's going to do. There's no way to just have this function like a flex head. It's going to be locked. You want it right here? Cool. Keep it locked. You want it straight? Cool. It's locked. There is zero articulation, zero possible ways, short of tearing this thing down and taking it apart and losing the locking function, to have this function as just a free-form flex head. That is why, when I ran this by, I was like, man, I really hope they have a flex head in purple come in so you could complete your set. Will they do it? I don't know. I'm not privy to that. I certainly hope so. That said, have I used this? No, it has been patiently waiting. And again, like I said, this is, I've only had it 2 weeks here, and then keep in mind I couldn't make a video because I lost my voice. Wanted to really bad. I can't be mad because of how stiff this thing is. Like, it is very, very well done. I do know, I've never used one, but I do know that Gearwrench, I don't know if it's all of them, I don't know if it's a recent thing, but it has a button just like this, but it locks and unlocks. So I think if you like press it, I can just go into freeform, and if I press it again, I can lock it. I thought that was kind of sad here with the Mac, but once I had this in hand, I was like, oh man, you know, this is a beefcake. This is really good. So I sort of was okay with that. This is the one thing I can complain about. And again, I realize a ton of people will hate that this is always locked. Some of you might be like, hey, that's the way to do it. Others of you like, no, I want it to do both. Okay. This is a problem for me. All right. You're thinking like, well, what's the deal? This is what farthest back it goes on itself. It is. It'll technically go farther back right here. But watch, it's not locked. It's now locked, and I mean, it is like a freaking rock when it's locked. But I've said this many times before, I want this, particularly with a locking flex head. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sensationalize anything. Yes, I could bring in other ratchets and change the numerics of it, but a locking flex head for me will primarily be used in this position, in this orientation, just like this fixed guy, okay? However, my second most used position would be this if it was a full 90. I use it all the time. And what gets old to me, where my poor Kokens at work, I kind of show is roughly this length, just they don't make a locker Koken yet at this time, so it's just a flex head. But what happens is I'm running a 15/16 socket on this half the time. I know 3/8, 15/16, most people wouldn't do that. I do. You could change it to 1/2 inch, it would be the same complaint. But it basically puts a lot of load on this. So I'm coming in, I'm working like straight, either down or overhead, usually overhead, meaning I've got this here, okay? And when I have to be at this angle, okay, I can't really fit this ratchet and showcase it, but everything's parallel here, and I want the handle to be 90 degrees. That is just, it spins easier. I can run it in quicker, right? We're not concerned about the ratchet action as much as we are me going just spin, and run it in and then tighten it down, right? I can try this, but everything I do, I prefer at the 90 degree mark, and that's very unfortunate. Again, the Snap-on, to its credit, I can do that. The Matco, I believe I can do that. Neither of those are anywhere near this solid. At some point in time, we'll get them all together. I've got the Matco here. But again, the snap-on is at work, so we'll do a comparison at some point, but I want to showcase this. This is position 1, just straight and fixed. There is 1 back, 2 back, 3 back, 4 back, 5 back, and that's it. If it would just lock right here, I would have 0 issues with this ratchet. So 5 positions back. 1, 2, 1, 2, is that 3? 1. Man, I'm having a hard time here. So straight up, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So coming down on itself, there's 3 positions, and then coming back, which that's your Mac logo back towards the button, I want to say there's 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So kind of an interesting deal. Obviously, if you look at the way this was cut, you'll see way up here, basically even with the yoke, you've got the grooves there. If we spin this around, you'll note that that line there is missing. And again, if that was just grooved up that way, you would have the extra positions. Like I said, for me personally, I do wish this was a thing. You know, yeah, you can run it like this, but as soon as you pop out, you're there. Is it the end of the world? No. But, you know, these things aren't cheap, and you have to provide honest criticism. Otherwise, I would be a hypocrite if I sit there and tell you, like, well, the Matco should do this, Snap-on should do that, Max should do this, Stahlwille, ooh, hey. You know, I'm consistent, all right? I'm always consistent. I have the same complaint regardless of country of origin, regardless of brand, regardless of price, regardless of how cool I think it looks. It's just the way it is. It's how you've got to be, or your videos aren't worth watching, in my opinion. I'm going to have the same complaint regardless of the make. Truly, though, this is impressive. If you're ever on the truck, you're like, I'm not going to buy a Mac. I got to have it, you know, flex and a lock. Grab one next time you're on there, and like, I mean, it is impressive. I will give it that wholeheartedly. But 310, kind of spendy, but again, lifetime deal. I know if anything goes wrong, if I grenade one of these, I can get a head kit from the guy. Particularly here, again, you know, like something really, really bad happens, it's just boom, new head. So it's kind of a win there. Biggest downfall with the locker, again, it is always locked, and then for me personally, it's missing the 90. It's so good in its locked position, I'm okay that it's always locked. Like, it's that good, it's that impressive, it overcomes what would be a typical critique for me. However, I wish I had the 90-degree mark, particularly back this way, because that's a position that I use and would want. When I use a flex head, it's 90 degrees back. You know, it kind of just goes that way because with the 15-16 socket, as I come up onto the bolt, it's forced into that back position. That's as far back as it hinges itself, right? So subtle change there would be nice. It'd also kind of be cool if you maybe had a few more down positions. Those are really funky. It's almost like you would only do that when you're coming like back. Let's say that you're in a wheel well and you're reaching around something and you can run the socket through some gap in the control arm, right? This is kind of when you would do that. Otherwise, all my stuff is going to be back this way. But having a couple extra positions would be nice, particularly 90 degrees either way. Just for the heck of it, particularly this way. If we had that, I wouldn't really have much to complain about. Now, trying to showcase this without taking it apart, which if we threaded out that torque screw, I want to say that this mechanism has to be holding multiple cogs at the same time. Like, I can't imagine it being this strong and just grabbing here and there. It must be machined in a way that it's catching multiple points, because, I mean, that is just, it is solid. It's really, really impressive. Again, as best I know, everything is US made except for this locking mechanism, and I want to say it might just be the button. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe the handle its whole self is sourced. I don't know. Again, there's been very, very comprehensive threads on Garage Journal. People call into Max. Sometimes they get conflicting information. But as best I recall, it is something to do with the locking mechanism, which makes sense because 100% America, if we had a flex head here in the middle, it was non-locking, it would have the American flag on the selector switch. This one is made in the USA with global components, and I believe this is your global component region. So it could be as simple as the patent for that is overseas, be it Taiwan or elsewhere. Would probably be Taiwan if I had to guess. But I will tell you, that is very impressive. I own 0 gear wrench tools. I don't really have a desire to own gear wrench tools. I think they're overpriced for what they are. But I have always been intrigued by their concept of press this and it's locked, and press it and it's unlocked. Is it better? Is it stout? Some of you probably have the gear wrench and the Mac and can tell me. Some of you have gear wrench that you can compare with your Snap-on or, you know, what have you. Feel free to tell me, is that something we should bring in and check out? Where is a place to get a really good buy on it? Because again, when you know the country of origin and the price does not match that, that's always a difficult pill to swallow, and I usually don't. So we've got that, but yeah, $309, $310 I believe was the price for these. Not a terrible deal. I think it was like 30-40 bucks, and if you bought them individually, which granted, you know, if your driver has these and he didn't sell them off at once and you just want this, you're like, man, I just really want that fixed ratchet, everything I have is flex, he might break them down. I don't know what the prices would be. It'd probably just vary, depends how bad he wants to unload them, how many he has, type of a thing. All right, this might be a deal if you got a guy in Sacramento, everybody's a Kings fan, these could be gone, right? If you're in Pittsburgh, everything's black and yellow, you might not sell any of these except to the purple guy, right? I don't know. But it is cool to see them do something, deviate from the normal, give people color options. And I can tell you right now, I would have 0 qualms building out an entire set in the purple. I think it looks really, really good. And again, it's just unique. It should clean up fairly well. The quarter drive one, only thing really wrong with it, aside from I'm like spinning some Loctite out of that joint right there. It's just a flex head, it's not a locker. But there's like blue Loctite coming out that side, I guess just from constantly going up and down. And then right down in here where you've got the Mac tools, trying to get that focused for you, it collects so much junk. It's the pictures, particularly on the cover of this month or last month with the orange and the green, I guess it's this month, they looked blacked out, right, like from the factory. Well, I can achieve that look for you with a little bit of use, and I'm sure you can too. So keep that in mind. But yeah, these are really, really nice so far. Again, the most used is going to be my 1/4 inch flex. It's been great. Little Taiwan Roto has been fine, but again, it's kind of like falls into that gear wrench category. That's not made in Fort Worth, it's made overseas, and it costs way too much for that. So these should get a workout here. I really am impressed with this. I was somebody that was like, that's really stupid, I wish it would do both. It's so good of a fixed position when it's locked, I'm overlooking it. Again, biggest critique for me now is just the 90 degrees back. I wish we had that. This will probably see a ton of use just because, again, it's 3/8 and it's a little bit longer, you know, than a standard ratchet, which is nice. Not crazy like the 13 inch or an 18 inch, but just subtle, you know, like 2 inches or so. Standard's probably around 7, so this little 9 inch gives you a nice little additional option you might not get from some of your store brands. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is try to get these hideous labels off, clean them up. We'll do a little quick socket fitment for you, and then I gotta go in and get something to drink. All right, I have got to brag on Mac real quick because this is glorious. Not sure, dadgum, I would pick the tightest one. These labels have come off and they have left zero residue. I'm trying to do this with a gloved hand, and I'm gonna tell you right now, like, check this out. You have to see this to believe it. This might be the most impressive thing in the entire video. Look at this. Just look at that. You're thinking like, oh, that's real tacky. Minimal residue. Like, this is so nice. So whoever did that, I don't know, maybe they like cheaped out on the adhesive, maybe it's by design. That is so appreciated, because the last thing you want to do is crack open your brand new beautiful limited edition Ratchet and then just have gunk that I have to go and clean up and splash ballast on, or get, you know, some grease remover, citrus crud all over it. Perfect. Zero complaints. And does that not look nice? Doesn't that look better? Just having that side by side there with the chrome lustering back in your face. Very cool. What we can do now is get these things off. And what I have, we'll just go ahead and throw down. Don't have any Max sockets here. I've got Proto, and I have a ton of Proto at work. These are the super stubbies. I really do like those sockets. Look at the fitment here. Pretty solid till she kicked out. That's not good. That's very reminiscent of gear wrench junk. Not happy there. Here's what's happening. See how it looks like it's a tight fit, and then we just kick out? And you're thinking like, oh, well, hey, you know, just get the detent different. No. Looks great. And she popped. So, let's pull this off. I don't know if we're going to have to do an anvil comparison or what. Okay, you saw that, right? You heard it. Ready? Pay attention to that gap. I'm going to turn it, and you should see it kick forward towards my hand. There it went. Not cool. That creates a bit more play. And is it just the stubbies doing that? I don't know. We're going to have to go grab some other sockets, but you bask in the glory of that excellent aesthetic. Let me know what you think of it. I'm personally a pretty big fan. I think it looks really, really good. We'll get those kind of angled back. I'm going to go grab some other sockets, and we'll see if they do that or not. Alright, so one thing leads to another. Again, apologies on the voice. These, not happy with the fitment, but came in, I grabbed an SK. Perfect. Beautiful. Come in next, and I was like, okay, let me branch out to Germany. We get a Gador. Does not kick. We come in here, I have not tested this. It's a 1-inch Koken, so like comical fitment. Right there. It sort of did kick, didn't it? It does. Let's go here. We've got a right. I have not tested this. It's 15/16. Kind of kicked out as well. Interesting. Let's test this should be the same. I don't think that kicked as bad. The Gador fit great. Let's see if it's the same here. Yep. The SK was a dream machine. No issues. And the 1-inch Koken, what's it gonna do? Kicks a little, but decent fitment. Real quick here, I grabbed, I had to figure out where I had it. It was on a creeper. The Matco with a 13mm Gador. Not concerned about the fitment there, although of course that does kick out hideously because it's Matco. This right here though, note, it will flex. If we lock it, do you see that play? The Mac is vastly superior in terms of play, right? This, if you're thinking like, I thought this guy had a ratchet, yeah, it was it. It was the Stahlwille. This shares a similar setup. This is locked all the time. This doesn't have near as many positions. I have the same complaint as not being able to lock 90 down, but look at this. It's about like the Matco. This really is an impressive locker. That said, aside from me possibly losing my voice, I have got to Piss like a racehorse. Not going to candy coat it. So I'm going to lock this stuff up as fast as I can and run frantically back to the house. I do hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at LoneStarMopars.com. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on this. The purple, Mac in general, their locking flex set, this stuff, Snap-on's new design, whatever you want to talk about. If you subscribe, you ring the bell, you jump your Charger across the creek, you land with your Mac locking flex set in purple. YouTube just might notify you. We got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. That said, if you liked this, I promise you're going to like the next Mac video. Stay tuned for that. On that note, thanks so much for watching. I hope I catch you back here for more from the shop.